Welcome back to Missouri River Bottom for episode 7. I'm BP, and today we're in March. Last episode, we wrapped up almost all of our field prep on the mega field. We have just a little bit more manure to spread. We also bought 100 calves and purchased field 23. Today, the plan is to plant grass in field 23 for the cows and do some work around the yard in preparation for spring. Let's get started this morning with the rest of that manure spreading from last episode. Between episodes, I did find a couple of plowing contracts and got those knocked out. And as some of you may have noticed, our Fendt now has dual tires. It just seemed to struggle with that big plow, so we gave it some big, chunky dual tires, try to get its base a little bit wider so it handles better in those contracts for us. And it seems to be doing a good job. I also made some upgrades to the TLX Phoenix. There were some options we wanted, like dual exhaust, some custom bumpers and that kind of stuff that we couldn't afford when we first bought it. And we'll go ahead and check that out a little bit later when we take that down to the shop for a quick project. But right now, let's get turned around. These wide tires, man, they barely fit through that gate. But I think the tractor looks great with this setup. We'll get turned around here. Let's head back out to the mega field. We've got those 2 strips left over from last episode. Get a little bit of manure on that. And then we're going to head over to field 23. Our big project, our focus for today, is going to be getting field 23 planted with grass. We are up to 300 total calves. And they have no hay left, so they are working exclusively on meadow grass right now. And as they continue to grow, we know they're going to eat more. So I want to get that grass field in to make sure we have a good food supply for them. And that'll also enable us to get more calves as time passes. So I'm going to hop out here. I think I might just do this manually and just get this knocked out real quick. Other things we're going to work on today, I want to get set up for our spring seeding, which will involve picking up the seed. There's an interesting new mod that came out on the mod hub. It's actually a manure drying system that will allow us to turn slurry into dry manure, so we can put it in our spreader and spread it on the fields. I'm not sure if we're going to add that today, but I did see it this morning when I was going through the mod hub, and thought that'd be a pretty good fit for our farm with the amount of manure we're producing. So we'll take a look at that as well. We do have that corn header down at the shop that we probably should pick up. They probably don't want us leaving it down there indefinitely. And in picking that up, I was thinking, maybe it's time, as we're getting a bigger and bigger set of equipment and have more things to move around, and maybe it's time we do pick up a flat deck trailer to pull with our TLX Phoenix, just to be able to move stuff back and forth. I know we brought this manure spreader back to the farm with our Ford F450 the other day, and it did get the job done, and it certainly can't complain about how it performed, but it's probably not the right size vehicle for that work. And as we're going to be moving a lot of equipment around, picking stuff up at the shop, and really starting to flush out our farm and our equipment, maybe it's just time to have the right equipment to get the job done. So we'll take a look at that. I know there were a couple of drop deck trailers in the sale the other day, so we'll see if those are still around and still available and go from there. So there's the first strip done on the mega field. We have the one over there we're going to go grab. I just want to hit this strip, just most of it on the way by. Try to get as much of this field fertilized as possible. Maybe just hit it the other way too. So once we get that grass field in, I want to do a couple of things and just start getting prepped for the spring planting season. As we discussed previously, I do think that we're going to have to consider upgrading to a dual planting setup. This field is very large, not to mention the other fields on the map and as we grow. So we'll have to figure out what we want to do about that and what our options are. But I think if we start working on that now, we should be good to go. We can plant corn as early as April, so next month. And I do like to get my crops in early. That way, if an opportunity comes up to buy another field and we have to plant, we'll have a 2-month rotation to pick up. So if we got another cornfield, or if we acquired a cornfield later, or even just any other kind of field, we want to get the crops in the ground early and out early before the weather turns, and make sure we have as much time at the end of the season when we need to be harvesting as possible. Well, that wasn't bad at all. It's surprising we almost made it through last time with just the manure we had on hand, but we were just a little bit short. So as we wrap up here, we'll head over, and I think while we have the manure spreader out, let's go ahead and just get field 23, our new grass field, done. So off camera, I did go ahead and plow that field up. I also stone picked it and put a layer of lime down. I wanted the ground to be optimal for our grass since you plant it once and it's a regrowth crop. I wanted to have the optimal yield on that field as possible. Hey, you can see our first batch of Angus cattle have started growing up. They're just a little bit bigger than the other batch of limousines and the smaller batch. You can see a little Angus calf laying down there in the grass, and some of the sort of teenage animals there looking a little bigger, running around playing. So excited to see them growing. Looking forward to watching our cattle ranch flush itself out and become very productive and profitable, and that's our first step in getting that done. So as I was saying, I got field 23 all prepped. I do want to put some manure down just to get that done ahead of time. I like keeping as much stuff on the farm as possible. We're going to have to buy seeds for this season regardless, but we can definitely get the fertilizing done with just the manure we have on hand. So I'm wondering... Oh, and we got weeds overnight, so that is interesting. Shouldn't affect anything. Because we have grass going in, and when we plant, it should be taken care of. But you know what we haven't done yet on this series is use the guidance steering. And I'm just trying to remember. Oh, that's not what we wanted. Trying to remember how I set up guidance steering for this field. Let's see. There we go. Steering assist, working with 24 meters. We'll do one headland. Okay, show lines on. Cruise control, we want that set. All right. So, excellent. Let's flip around and grab this first set of headlands. See, I don't use guidance steering very much because most of our fields are just too big. I like hiring them out on a worker, but this size field I thought it'd be fun to just try something a little bit different here. So let's go ahead and see. I have to remember what I did for my controls. There we go. And turn it on. Alright, so we are using guidance steering to get the manure down on field 23. You're probably going to get some entertainment value out of this, as I'm sure I'll mess up my controls at least the first couple of times turning them on and off. Hopefully we don't end up in the ditch up here. This is a great addition to Farm Sim 25, to be able to sort of semi-manually do some work. There is the GPS mod, which is actually out in its first round of beta here. And actually, I think it's technically still even a pre-alpha. But they are working on the real GPS mod, and maybe we'll pick that up later on and in a different episode. But for right now, I think this is the best option we have, and a very good option considering, you know, where we're coming from. Oh, see, I've already lost it. Going back. Hold on. Like I said, I'm not the best at this. It's not something we use all the time. But there we go. I think we're back on it. I think my biggest problem with the steering assist is actually I just love having my steering wheel straight. So even after I set them off, I straighten it out, and then that kicks them off his course. But anyways, so I think the real GPS mod, or I might be using the wrong name for that one, but there is a good GPS mod. I've seen a couple other people using it in the alpha testing, and so far it looks really good. But really nice. You can set your working with, change your angle, shift your courses. So when you go and you pick up maybe a baling contract, or something where, or a grass, you know, wrapping contract, or something where, you know, they've already rowed the crop for you, and you're trying to figure out, you know, what size are the rows, what's the distance between them, everything else, that mod will really let you do it. But for now, our steering assist mod is great. It does an excellent job. You know, certainly no complaints. We're going to get our steering wheel straight so we don't screw that up again, and away we go. Now, I said we were going to do this with our manure, but we're burning through it pretty quick here. Once again, we might be just a bit shy on the manure. We're going to have to keep track of that, but we'll get as much of it done as possible, and we'll see how thin we can spread it. I do play with the double application rate for fertilizer mod that enables us to to fertilize the field once and get the full fertilization state. Since we don't yet have precision farming, you know, I think that mod's just easier. I'm going to do this one manually just real quick because I don't see a point in getting locked into that yet. All right, there we go. So yeah, I play with the double application rate mod on, so in getting this manure down, we are getting the full fertilization state, which is great. Also just helps not have to do multiple passes on the field. And so far, this is working out really well. Turn that off, swing around up here. And maybe we'll even try to come back and get a little bit fancy here and try to do a little bit of in-cab work. See if I can manage all of my controls and get everything all squared up from the in-cab. Alright, not bad. One pass, didn't screw it up too bad. Get squared up for the next one. You guys leave me a comment down below. Do you guys prefer the in-cab view when we do work like this? Do you prefer the sort of chase camera look? Is it a mix of both? You know, what is your preference? How do you farm? What do you like to watch? You know, just give me a comment. Let me know what you think. I try to do a mix of both and make sure we're representing all the options. And, you know, certainly some of this stuff is easier in cab, and it's not bad to be outside either. So, you know, as I said, leave me a comment. Let me know how you guys play, what you guys think. And, you know, maybe we'll mix it up for next time. This is going pretty well. I am concerned about how much manure we have left, but it'll be what it'll be, and if we have to come back and do a little extra fertilization after we plant, we can always do that as well. And certainly we're going to have more manure every single day from the cows. I got off track by one. Need to move over a little bit. once we get this field wrapped up, I think we'll go ahead and head down to the shop, because the next step for us is going to be putting grass in the field, and we can't do that until we have some seed. So we'll run down, I'll grab the TLX, head down to the shop, and grab that corn header, grab a couple of bags of seed, bring that back to the farm, get set up for the seeding of this field, get all that planted. One of the really nice things about the Kinsey planter we picked up, it has the addition of a roller setup on the back, so it'll roll your fields as you plant them. So we can knock that out in one pass, and between having this field stone picked, lined, a double application of fertilizer, I don't think we got mulched, just because if you remember there was cotton in this field, but it hadn't grown when I plowed the field in, so I don't think we'll be able to get a mulching state out of it. But we're going to be at almost the maximum amount of yield bonus we can get, and in that regard we'll be in really good shape. So that'll give us the most grass. You know, cutting grass is nice, but we don't want to be doing it all the time just for the sake of doing it. So we want to get as much out of it as we can each time we do it, and starting off with the maximum yield is definitely the best way to do that. So I did consider a couple of other fields while we were looking and shopping around. You know, we discussed this one's sort of landlocked and we're never going to be able to add it to another field, and we want to be farming on really big fields if we can. That's our goal. That's what we like to do. So this one was perfect for the grass. There were a couple of other options, but they really were too big. We don't need to be making, you know, 1,000,000 liters of silage and 1,000,000 liters of TMR off a huge grass field that takes, you know, hours and hours to cut. So we'll jump out and do a chase cam on this one. Just get this last little strip here. We only have just a tiny bit of manure left. This is going to work out to be just about perfect. So we missed a couple of small spots, but not a big deal. And for our first time using guidance steerings on the series, and probably about my 5th time using guidance steerings ever, that was a wild amount of success and quite a bit of fun. Maybe we'll use that when we mow. We certainly can come back and do a little guidance steering for the planting as well. So let's get this guy washed off. Let's get them parked. I'm not sure. We'll do a little experiment here. I'm not sure if this tractor with the new wide tires on the fender, we don't want to go that way, will fit into the parking bay with the current course, because all of the current parking courses were done with single wide tires. I'm not sure if this guy's going to hit the edges or not, but let's jump in and set him to park using auto drive and just see how far we get. So here we are. See if the course we set up was, we swung wide enough and centered up enough to get him in there. If not, no big deal. We'll throw it in manually, but always good to see. Yeah, I think that tire's gonna, yep, that's about what I figured. So, okay, not a big deal. So we don't want the Fent. I think we're caught on the front weight. May have to drop that front weight real quick. Let's see. There we go, and just pick it right back up. So we won't have the Fent park any more vehicles, because with the wide tires, it's probably not a good idea. It barely fits in there. Oh, that's the weight. Let's drop the manure spreader. All right. And we are going to need the Fent for planting. So let's go ahead. Actually, you know what? Maybe we'll use the Deutz. It's a small field. I don't know if we need that much power. Let's park the fence up out of the way. And here we are. Turn them off. And let's go grab the Deutz. We haven't driven the Deutz in a couple of episodes. So you can see it's attached to the lime spreader That's where we were using it last, when we were on field 23. So, grab the planter here, and we'll drive that up to the front so we're all set up for when we get back with our corn header from the shop. Alright. Now, swinging this thing out of here without hitting the walls is going to be a bit of an adventure. Here we go. Let's see. Straight out. Then we can come around. If we leave this right over here, I'm wondering if we can pull the TLX up when we get back with seed and just directly put it in there. So that's a nice looking setup. The Deutz looks good on the planter. We'll see how it pulls. Right now we'll jump into the TLX. Oh, I should only pull it out and I'll show you guys the changes we made real quick. Nothing too significant, but you know, when we were speccing it out the first time, we didn't have the money to do everything. We wanted to make sure we got it. So, changes to the TLX. New bumper with chicken lights and running lights. We did go with the dual exhaust, straight pipes with the flappers. I think that's really the only two changes we made, but wanted the tractor to look nice and be ready to go. So, nice looking truck for the farm. Let's drive down to the shop. And when we get down there, we can collect the contracts from the plowing from last time. I believe, well, I'm not going to remember the numbers for the contracts, but it was in one field, it was this field over to the left behind the farm, and then we plowed just as our mega field on the right, and we plowed this second field on the right, the one right up here next to us on the other side of the drainage ditch. So we plowed this field and then one back over by the farm. So I think with the addition of a drop deck trailer, you know, it's going to be useful in the farm. It's going to enable us to really go and pick stuff up. We are once again driving in the fog in the TLX. That seems to be the thing we do in the TLX. I thought if we started at 9 this morning, the fog would have been cleared out by now, but apparently that's not the case. So we'll run down here, grab this up. But as I was saying, I think the drop deck's going to be a good addition to the farm, give us the ability to go pick stuff up, move equipment around, and eventually, you know, we may pick up a field that is, you know, not touching our farm, not right next door. And, you know, being able to load up the harvesters or get equipment on a flat deck and drive it up there with some efficiency and bring it back is going to be helpful. It may enable us to do some larger contracts later. But, you know, we don't want to be putting road miles on our combine harvesters if we don't have to. So I think overall it's a necessary step in the progression of our farm and enabling us to get equipment where we need it, go pick up supplies, and just, you know, be more self-sufficient and self-reliant and keep us, you know, on track to really building the big farm that we have in mind. So as you can see, there's our corn header from last time. Got to pick that up. Let's turn this off real quick. We'll collect those two contracts. It was field 13, which was, you know, left of the farm here, actually one touching right down by the cow barn, and then field 16, which was on the other side of our mega field. So we'll collect those. Grab those while we're here. You know, stone picking for 95,000. That's not a bad contract. We don't expect a lot of contracts this time of year. We're not in planting season yet for almost all the crops. If you take a look at the crop schedule, you got cotton, grapes. We can plant grass, which is why we're pushing to get that done today. You can do oats, olives, peas, oilseed radish, poplar, potatoes. These are not things we're going to see planted around here. Sugarcane, might see some sunflowers, but I'm not sure we're going to get a lot of other contracts. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the stone picking contract, and we may grab that in the next episode and may do it between. We'll see, but I think that one's worth grabbing. We don't have a hoe for the hoeing contract up on field 30, so I'm not sure that one's worth picking up. And we could run in the background, but for $49,000, I just don't think it's worth picking up. We'll see if there are better options later. So let's switch over to the shop here. We'll go look at the sale real quick. Always go to the bottom first where the new stuff is. A 14.5 meter MacDon header, not the matching one we have, but a nice header. There's the Summers plow. We used that on a contract last time, or a couple, maybe two episodes ago. So that's a nice setup there, but not something we need. Another nice truck, but I like the truck we have now better. Oh, there's another cotton harvester. We just really don't want to get into cotton. We have the root harvester here. This is a great deal on this one, but root crops not really my thing either. And I think that's about it for new stuff in the sale. There's a 17 meter MacDon header we looked at last time. And I thought there were a couple of drop decks, but they must have sold. So let's look at our low loaders and just see what we have. A couple of different ones. The Load King's nice. It's definitely a big trailer. Triaxle. That's a big trailer. It's got ramps. You know, we can get the full ramps. That's always nice. The manifold steps. This is part of the, what's the name of the mod? The fiber dash trailer kit where you can do all your fertilizer mixing and everything else. So we don't need the step for that stuff. We're not going to be loading anything in. What's interesting is we have the Load King here. This one's 45. This one's 59. Are there any real noticeably different? Oh, it's color optional. Well, that's, you know how I feel about that. So do the full ramp. We'll get that going. The trim probably should be in black. Mud flaps and airbags are definitely black. We want those. Reflectors. I'm not against having a reflector. What is the orange reflector? That doesn't look too bad. Let's do full. Do you want to do orange and white, or do you want to do orange? Zoom in and see. Orange and white looks pretty good. Toolbox emblem. I'm not even sure we have a toolbox on here. We'll make that black. The hinges black. On all the accessory stuff to sort of disappear off the trailer. It's not what we want the focal point to be. The deck, on the other hand, let's see. Black doesn't look too bad. Ramp, we definitely want black. And this one has the ability to have each ramp be its own color, it looks like. So let's figure out. Oh, I think we're doing something that we're not sure what we're doing here. Okay, the other ramp, black, and then, oh, these are the reflectors on the back. I see now. Okay, so the reflector color, we want one of them to be white, the other one to be orange. Is that the pattern we have? Okay, and then we did white, and then we do orange all the way around, and then rim color will go with black as well. So a little bit more expensive, but, you know, it's the setup we like. It matches the color of the farms, and, you know, we have a little bit of money. So if we jump in here, I do want to adjust the auto load just a little bit. Try to figure out why these boxes are clipping, because we may end up at some point doing some bales or picking up a bunch of pallets, and having the auto load set up the first time the correct way is always nice. So all right, I think we will buy that. And in addition to that trailer, we know we came down here for some seed. So let's grab some big bags. We have seed. We know the seeder holds, I believe, 10,000 liters. So we'll start with 8. I mean, that should be plenty. We'll have to come pick up another load at some point. That will do what we need it to do for now. All right, so let's get hooked up to our new trailer. And then we'll have them come by and load us up for the corn header, because I think that's going to hang off a little bit off the back end, and we'll have to get the seed bags, the big bags of seed, up on the top deck to get this loaded up. Let's connect up first. All right, excellent. I will jump out and grab somebody from the shop and have them load us up, and we'll be right back. Well, I'm glad we went with the new drop deck trailer, because that corn header, as expected, doesn't even fully fit on this trailer, and this is a huge triaxle. So they got us all loaded up. Everything's strapped down. We're going to head back to the farm. And let's, before we get going here, let's get some lights on. Let's check out the new trailer. We have, doesn't look like we have any flashers on either the truck or the trailer, so maybe we need to get some beacons on, but we'll make it back either way. So nice and easy on the way back with our big load. We'll be swinging wide off the rear with that corn header on there. I want to be careful. So we'll head back to the farm. We will get the seeder topped off with the 10,000 liters of seed that we picked up. I think we'll unload the corn header off the trailer using the harvester. So once we get the seeder filled up, I'm going to pull the truck around to the side and get the harvester out of the shed, get this off the trailer. We don't want to leave it on there. And then we should be heading back to the field with our Deutz and our seeder, our planter, and getting that grass field put in, which will leave us in good shape overall. So I think that'll be the plan for the rest of the episode. I do want to check on the cows. I'm sure they're good on their food. We may want to top off their straw a little bit. Let the JCB do a little bit of work there as well. And just sort of check and see what else we have going on with the rest of the equipment and make sure we're squared away for next month, because getting everything planted is going to be a big project, and we want to get started early. We want to make sure everything's up and running. We don't have any mechanical issues or delays with not having the equipment set up and ready to go. So we'll sort of give everything a once over and just look through it all and make sure that we are good to go for April and get that corn planted in. I'm excited at how our farm's turning out so far. The manure spreader, getting the fields fertilized, was great. Picking up field 23 is going to be a huge help with the cattle. Assuming that we get some good contracts in the mix for next month, I think we'll try to pick up another round of limousine calves and put us right at 400 beef cattle on the farm. And then that way I think that's gonna be about all we're gonna want. That's about half the capacity of our barn. Having many more animals than that can be tough, just as far as maintenance and upkeep and food and everything else. So we'll see. We might expand beyond that, but I think that's a good rotation in regards to having them all about 2 months apart. And then additionally, if we really do want to get into more cattle, we can always consider doing some dairy cows as well. So let's get this guy parked right here. Let's let the straps off, turn off the TLX. I'm going to jump over to the Deutz, and let's see if we can't get this guy filled with seed. And that's excellent. We lined that up just the way we needed to. We're pulling seed right off of the trailer, so good to go. 3,000, 4,000, 4 more bags to go. Two more. And let's just see about that very last bag. There it is. Yeah, if you guys know how to get those boxes turned off, the bags there, if you just saw that green shader box or that object box, let me know in the notes. I heard somewhere, I looked at it, it looks like it's supposed to be a debug setting. I don't think I have any debug settings on, but you know, maybe I do. So if you know how to get rid of that, drop me a comment as well. I'm going to swing the TLX around, careful not to hit the planter there. And I think we're just going to stack our corn headers right here between the trees with the other one. So let's get squared up here. I think we want to be just about in front of the door. Alright, once again, turn him off. Let's get some lights turned off as well. We will jump into the Colossus Harvester. Get that turned on. And, oh, you know what I didn't do? Didn't take the straps off the trailer, which would make it a bit hard to get the header off. The Colossus is probably strong enough to move the whole truck and trailer, and we're not looking to do that today, so let's take a look and see if we can get this lined up. I was hoping they loaded it right on the edge. Yep, we can get it. Back it off. Very nice. That worked out quite well. Okay, let's move the TLX. Maybe run him around just to the corner here so we can swing that harvester all the way around and get the corn header tucked away in the trees. I'm going to leave him running for right now. We'll be back in just a second. Alright, let's get the header up off the ground. I think if we swing it in here, maybe straighten it up just a little bit. Maybe we'll find a shed where we can put these headers. But for right now, I think that's what we're going to do. Alright, now, the beauty of our auto drive course is I should be able to take this guy, just get him lined up here along the building, and hit park, and he should go take care of himself. So he'll put himself back to bed until we need him in the fall. And after he pulls by, we'll wrap around with a TLX. I'm going to park this drop deck, I think, along the back side of the shop for now. It's an absolutely huge trailer. I don't think we're going to put it in a shed. Just don't see us having the room to do that. So if we come around here, swing wide, can we sneak in behind the planter? I think we can. Don't want to hit the fence. Yep, and our harvester is parked. I think we'll tuck this guy right here. Great. Okay, we'll put the TLX back in the shop. It was fun driving it with the new exhaust and front bumper with the chicken lights and everything else. Good time. And it'll tuck right in here, just like that. Make sure we're all the way in. I think right about there. Okay. Oh. I don't want to leave it on. Let's... Come on, jump out. Alright. Not even a bad parking job. Look at that. Nailed it. First try. Okay. Let's get the field planted with the Deutz. We will try to use steering assist again. And this time I think we'll do it all out of cab. And just take that route. So we'll go ahead and unfold the planter here. And we don't want to be putting corn in the ground. I don't think it'll let us at this stage. So let's get that switched over to grass. There we are. And drop it down. Okay. What's great for the guidance steering is I have an iPad connected to, or on my desk, I should say, for my gaming setup, and I'm using the FarmSim guys sim dashboard attachment, and it is great. And at the very bottom, it has the button for the guidance steering. So it's just a great add-on, has lots of attach and detach features. Everything's very visual. All the buttons are well marked. You can turn the lights on. You can connect and disconnect equipment and implements. You can, you know, raise things up, unfold things, switch between front and rear attachments. It's just a great all-around mod to play with as well. I'm going to go ahead and go with, nope, it really wants to do one headland. Can we get the... Yeah, I think I want my directions up and down. I don't want to do diagonals. I really want to do 2 headlands. We may end up doing the second one manually, just because I feel like having the ability to turn around is going to be really important. So for right now, we'll just grab this corner on our own, and then we'll get squared up for our first pass down this side. Trying to avoid the stop sign there. Alright, let's see. And so far we haven't done much, but the Deutz does seem to be handling this nice and easily. Doesn't seem to be struggling at all. Alright, here we go. So we'll get on the course. We will set cruise control, and away we go. So as I was saying, the Sim Dashboard add-on to FarmSim, and then specifically using the FarmSim guys' Sim Dashboard layout is a great add-on for playing. It's got great visuals for the buttons and is very immersive. It also just keeps me off the keyboard. I try not to play with the keyboard as much as possible. Between the steering wheel, the pedals, the Farmstick, the Sim Dashboard, you know, it's pretty. I have a lot of this, or most of the controls for everything covered, and that's just it's a nice way to play. You know, I started out playing FarmSim back in FarmSim 19 on console, and, you know, enjoyed that, but there are obviously, you know, quite a few limitations in regards to mods and file sizes and slot counts and all that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of fun, and I probably had, you know, well over 1,000 hours into FarmSim 19 on console. I was never a PC gamer growing up or as a kid, and then got into PC gaming for FarmSim and for a few FPS games. But it is, I have to say, if you have the option or the ability to play FarmSim on a PC, it is a totally different experience. The mods, the controls, it is just a very, very different experience. It's a great one, and not the console's a bad experience, but you know, if you're looking for more out of your game, you're looking for, you know, the ability to control more, to be more involved, you know, customize your keybinds, you know, all that kind of stuff. Playing on PC is just such a different experience. And, you know, I played FarmSim 22. I actually switched from console to PC during FarmSim 22, and have now been playing exclusively on PC for the last couple of years. And it's, as I said, just been a great experience. If you get a chance to, you know, try out FarmSim on a PC, great. If you're playing on console, you know, don't feel bad. It's still an excellent game. It still has a lot of fun things you can do, you know, and certainly it is worth doing. But the PC experience has just been really, really enjoyable for me. So I've enjoyed that quite a bit, and enjoyed building out my, you know, my accessories for the gaming and everything else, and it's just been a really, really good time. So, okay, now as we continue working on this field, we're almost there. You know, by the end of this, I might even be a mediocre novice steering assist farmer. but it's going well so far. Starting to get the hang of it again. So I think we'll complete this field. We'll get the grass planted. We'll run over, check on the cows. As I said, go through the farm one time. Just make sure everything's set up for April. I'll probably grab that stone picking contract between episodes. We can also just check and see if there are any additional contracts. We've got a bunch of contracts coming up. As I said, we don't have a hoe, so we're not going to pick any of those. And then stone picking. There's 127K on stone picking, so we'll grab that one. And this is going to be one of our last months being able to grab 3 contracts. So we have 3 stone picking contracts. I got talking and almost got one off course there. We have 3 stone picking contracts now. So I'll complete those off camera between episodes. And, you know, we'll likely come back in April and we'll have a big planting episode coming up, which will be a lot of fun. And, you know, hopefully at that point we'll complete another couple contracts, you know, maybe have enough money to pick up another Kinsey planter. Since we know the Deutz is working just fine on this, you know, we can run the Fendt on the other one and get 2 planters in the field and knock out that corn planting nice and quick. It's always fun setting up the course play for multiple vehicles, getting them lined up, spaced out. Also makes for some great video content as well, so I'm excited for that. You know, one thing we haven't really talked about so far this episode is, or this series is, you know, where I see the series going. You know, I'm not sure how many episodes we'll get out of this. I certainly don't think we're even at the halfway point in regards to, you know, how long this series will go. You know, I'd love to get a fully flushed out, large-scale farming operation set up on, you know, Missouri River bottom and have all of the equipment and all of our routines and our auto drive courses and our course play set up, you know, so that we can really have a production level farm. I don't know how many seasons that's going to take. You know, I think it's going to take at least 2, possibly 3. We also have, you know, cattle that we're playing with in the background, and that will give us another source of income and also some activity on our farm. I don't see this particular series getting heavily into productions. I think the corn dryer is a great add-on to this map. I don't see, you know, getting into cereal crops and doing, you know, a wheat or an oat or a sorghum and doing flours and then breads and, you know, that type of thing. So I think it'll be, you know, fairly limited in its focus to the types of gameplay we've already done, just on a larger scale. And when that is done, you know, when we have everything wrapped up that we, you know, plan to do, we have our loans paid off, we have, you know, several more fields, a farm full of big equipment, and we're harvesting, you know, millions of liters of crop every year. I think that's probably about where, you know, this series is done growing. So we'll see how long that takes. You know, certainly if you guys have suggestions or thoughts about what we should do, other opportunities, you know, ways to enrich the gameplay, you know, other things we can do on the farm, maybe experience some other crops, you know, you just let me know. Send a comment down below and, you know, we'll follow those up and see what we can do. But you know, I think this series is going to be about farming the crops. You know, we'll do a little bit of work with the cows, and from there we'll just see where it goes. But you know, I foresee being in the 30 episode range before we're having discussions about whether, you know, there's more to be done here or not. I also have toyed with the idea of, you know, making the playthroughs on some of these maps, or at least having one series that is a continuous playthrough, meaning, we would do what we need to do here until the series is complete and we feel like we've done everything we can and want to do, at which point we would essentially, for the purposes of the playthrough, sell the farm and then take, maybe a piece of equipment or two or something that we've enjoyed playing with and take it to the next farm, and that would be our starting point on the next map. So maybe, we take the TLX and that flat deck we just bought, we put our F450 on it and, maybe the Fent or the Deutz, and that's our starting equipment on the next map. And we, try farming different maps in different areas of the country. We use that as an opportunity to, do different crops and do dairy farming and animal husbandry and stuff like that. So, we could have this series as a continuous playthrough where when we wrap up one location, we just move on to the next location. So if that sounds like something you guys would be interested in, it sounds like it'd make for some fun content, you guys just let me know in the comments down below. But that is an idea I've played with. We may bring in another map to do some parallel play and just have a second series going on. But for right now, I'm enjoying being on Missouri River Bottom. I'm enjoying what we're doing. I feel like the series is progressing well, and I don't think there's a lot of need for a second series right now. We could do some survival type farming. We could do some, create your own farm type maps, like what's the Ola Hordor map, the New Frontiers. We could do a series on there, whether it's a survival or more of a logging series, or a build and acquire a farm type series. There are lots of options out there, but like I said, right now I think we'll stick with this one. We'll keep getting the episodes out to you guys, continue our journey here on River Bottom, and see where it takes us. So if you guys have thoughts or opinions, or have a direction you think we should go, or if there are things that we're doing that look good, just let me know in the comments, and I read all the comments. I'm happy to interact with you guys and have some feedback, so we can do all of that kind of thing and figure out what's going to be best. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on where I saw this series going, where it's been, what the expectation is, and go from there. And as I said, I do think regardless, we have to get the loan paid off. We have to finish building out the farm. If it turns into more than 30 episodes, great. If not, not a big deal either. I think every series has sort of a natural end point. I know for me, a lot of my gameplay runs between 50 and 80 hours on a map before I feel like I've accomplished everything that I want to do, and we're just finding things to do. And I don't think that makes for, good watching and good content for you guys. So let me know what you guys think. Well, so far, the guidance steering, it seems like it's going well for me. I certainly am not a pro at it, but it does seem like we're getting better at it. From my perspective, the chase cam is definitely is easier, I should say, for me than being in cab. I think that's just more of a practice thing than anything else. I also think having, two headlands up here at the top has helped a lot with getting the tractor turned around and oriented the right way. And, that's one of my very few complaints about the guidance steering system, because overall what Giants did in FS25 has been just great. But, some of the lack of customization to the courses where, you saw at the beginning of this field, I wanted to do two headlands, and guidance steering decided that I didn't need two headlands and that they knew better, and I was going to do one headland and I was going to be happy with it. And, that's just not the case. So we got the second headland in, and we don't even need one at the bottom of the field because it's nice and square. But I feel like up here at the top where we're angled and we have some water and we can't go onto the road to turn around, I just wanted a little bit of extra space, and the ability to customize that and tell the game that I want to have two headlands is something I'd love to see implemented long term. But overall, this is a huge improvement over what we had in previous farming simulators, and, you know, really just a fun way to enjoy doing some field work. And for me, you know, I would never use guidance steering on a huge field like we have across the street. For me, that would just be endless hours of clicking buttons and going back and forth, and not be something that I would enjoy. But on a field like this, I think it's just a great opportunity to, you know, try out some of the different gameplay styles and some of the other things that Giants has put into the game and, you know, brought to us as far as features and, you know, options and how we do different tasks. So, well, we're on our last strip here, so we're in good shape. That went very well. As you remember, we started with about 8,000, well, exactly 8,000 liters of seed in the planter, and we're going to be down to probably just about 7,200 liters. You know, we're done. So not a lot of seed went down. All the weeds were planted in the Kinsey. This Kinsey Blue Drive has a roller option, so the field is now in a rolled state as well. So overall, that's it for the planting of our grass field. So let's pull off here. Let's take a quick look. I want to jump onto the PDA and just check and see, you know, what we have as far as fertilized state and everything else. So here we are on field 23. You know, we tried this the other day, and the map, I don't know if you guys have this problem as well, but the map just does not load the soil composition menu very well. I don't know if it's because we're on a bigger map. I don't know if it just takes longer than I'm willing to wait and I'm being impatient, but it just seems like whenever we click over, we get this loading map thing at the bottom, and that's it. So maybe we'll come in and out of the menu one time, and if that doesn't work, then we're going to be pretty much done. So give it a second, but, well, we're not going to be able to see what we wanted to see, but I was hoping that, you know, we could show you guys it's been double fertilized. It's been limed, it's been rolled, and it's in good shape, but, you know, at this stage, the map isn't working, so we can't show you guys that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Kinsey back. We'll run down, check on the cows, maybe grab the JCB and just put some straw in there. They do have 2 million liters, or just about 2 million liters in their capacity, so they're never really in danger of running out. But I do like to keep them topped off, because it seems like both the food and the straw, when they grow and they're no longer calves and they're in the adolescent stage and then turning into adults, it just, one day you're plugging away and you feel like you've got tons of food and tons of straw, and then you wake up the next morning and they've just eaten 4 times as much and used 4 times as much straw as they ever have in the past. So I like to keep it topped off, particularly when they're growing like this, just to make sure we don't lose any you know, productivity as far as the food goes, and we don't lose any manure, because as you saw, we're using every bit of manure we get on the farm, which is great. Certainly we'll be using a lot less of it now that we're getting into the planting season and the fields are already done, but we do want to continue to have that as an option. Let's tuck that right back in there. That is put away. I think we'll leave this guy right here for now. And let's, before we wrap up, let's jump into the JCB. I don't think we've done much driving in the JCB, so get it turned on. JCB's got some great beacons on top. I love that for doing farm work, driving around. We've got, oh, we're not connected to the straw wagon here. Okay, we've got just about 90,000 liters of straw. I don't think they're going to take all that much, but we'll run down here and just top off their straw, check in on them, do a drive through of the barn, make sure our animals are all doing okay. Alright, so as you can see, we put some straw in. Yeah, they took about 20,000 liters, so they're in good shape there. Checking in on the animals, they do have their 2 million liters of straw. We have burned through all of the hay. The meadow accounts for about 124,000 liters of grass. They're down to 119. So we'll have to watch that. I'm not sure how that meadow is going to regrow, since we did have to sort of cultivate that field, plow it up, cultivate it, and then plant it, and then put the cow barn over it. So I'm not sure exactly how that grass is going to regrow and refresh. And we got to make sure that if it does start getting low, that we go buy some hay or some grass, or hopefully at that point our grass field's in. We should have grass by May. We could harvest. We don't have to. It'd be good to give it the full growth state. With the most recent update, we know that the grass is better. You know, it used to be that at the second growth stage you could harvest it and there was no more bonus for waiting, but in that most recent update, Giants did change it so that waiting the extra day on the grass does give you, a little bit more on your yield. So check in on our slurry. We got 118,000 liters. So I think maybe next time we do put in that new slurry to manure mod. It's a slurry drying mod. And start converting the slurry over to manure since we're using so much on our fields. In regards to the rest of the equipment, we're in pretty good shape. See if I can't swing this guy in here. When we get ready for the planting, we've got the Fendt with the dual tires and the front weight on it. That'll pull one planter. We have to pick up a second Kinsey Blue planter. The Deutz, we had a great test run on the Deutz today and getting the planter running, so we know we have two tractors that can pull. We're not going to use any fertilizer because we pre-fertilized the field with all that manure and we wrapped that up today. So I think in regards to planting season, we're in good shape. We are going to need a little bit more seed, but I think next episode we will grab the Phoenix and our new drop deck trailer and run down to the store, pick up the planter, and probably pick up another. I'd like to pick up 10 or 15,000 liters of seed and get both machines totally topped up. So I think that'll about do it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. Don't forget to drop a like and turn on notifications for more videos, and we'll see you in the next one.